With this group, with these meetings, with these discussions here, you have a chance. I said you have a chance. You have an opportunity to break out of the way you have been living all your lives, which has been a pretty miserable way of living. You have a chance to find something completely new, something you have no idea of now, something you don't see now, something you don't feel now. So this is completely unknown to you, what I'm talking about. With this group coming here, you have a chance to find it, depending on how hard you want to work, how much you want to jolt yourself out of your laziness, how much you're willing to be shaken and insulted, how much you're able to see that you're not even interested half the time in the things that you should be interested in, which is rescuing yourself here on earth. The other half of the statement is this. You listen very carefully to this. Without this group, you have practically no chance at all. Because you're not going to find the truthful guidance, the principles, the knowledge, the jolts, which are very mild, I assure you. For example, a very, very mild one you experienced when I spoke to Joan a minute ago. That's nothing at all. Without this group, without coming here, you have very little chance at all of finding this other state, which you cannot describe yet. But I will tell you that this state exists. That's the statement. Now you have to do something with it. If you're satisfied with your life the way it is, then you don't have to come here. But if you want to work hard and want to change things, if you want to put yourself in a state of discomfort and stay there in order to destroy discomfort forever, then you can do so. But if you want to push the discomfort down and hide it and live in dreamland, that's your choice too. So you do indeed have to make a decision as to what you want. If you want to find the way out, we're working here to find it together. And when you've cried about 50 times more now and openly than you cry now, then you're on the right track. When you scream and see yourself screaming, you have a chance. When you see all the horrors that are in you, see them and scream, but don't run away, you have a chance. However, that is not what we're going to talk about this morning. I wanted to tell you this evening, I want to tell you that here you will find the truth. Without it, very little chance. All right. We're going to do two things at once tonight. We're going to find a way of thinking, a very practical, so simple and yet so practical, a way of thinking. And we're going to start from the very beginning with it and follow it all the way through. So when you get this mold, this idea, you'll be able to take any subject at all and use this mold, this frame, to put it into and gain much from it. So let's start way back at the beginning. What is the chief personal problem, group problem, city problem, community problem, world problem. One thing, really, listen, really the problem is one thing. We can say it with one word and then expand from there. You'll see. The problem is ignorance. We don't understand ourselves while pretending that we do. We don't know what direction to turn to when we have a problem. Complete, total confusion and all the pain and heartache and antagonism that goes with it. Ignorance. You, me, everyone. And are you convinced by this time, are you convinced thoroughly that pretense does nothing? That pretending to know can only wear me out, can only wear you out? Or the uselessness of substitutes. Try to find, to use an example, try to find a substitute for air to breathe. See if you can find a substitute for air. Now see if you can find a substitute for the truth itself. There is none. There's no use. It's worthless trying to distract ourselves or to lie to ourselves. We might as well face it. We're either going to work intensely hard at setting ourselves free or we're not. Make the choice. Okay. Now, knowing that, to use the one word, ignorance, lack of understanding is the problem. We're going to, tonight, use a method which will begin our attack against ignorance, and to give us some ideas, some facts, a way to move, a way to go, to put an end to it, so I can put an end to feeling guilty for one thing. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Or don't you know that you feel guilty every time someone says something to you? Every time someone demands something of you or expects something and you don't give it to them, you feel guilty. No, we won't go into that. Okay. If you have paper and pencil, if not, you can just follow. That's all right, too. Now, I'd like someone, Joan, please, to write down particular points that I will give, and then I'll have you read them back to me, please. Right at the top of your page, write all about viewpoints. All about viewpoints. Now, I said at the beginning, this is a definite technique you can use with anything. What subject do you want to know more about? In the world of ideas, what do you want to know? You go home and you take a nice big piece of paper and a pencil and a bright light and your coffee if you want it, and you write all about self-rescue, all about clear thinking, all about honesty, self-honesty. Any subject you want. Okay. We're going to find out as much as we can about viewpoints. Okay? Joan, 1. All viewpoints are acquired. Every viewpoint has an opposite. A viewpoint cannot find truth. Viewpoints form self. Just relax a minute. Viewpoints form a self. Who understands what that means? It's really very simple. I'm sure you do. Listen to this. Everything that I call me is a bundle of viewpoints and nothing else. All my experiences go to make up what I call me. What am I? What? I'm an American. I'm male. I'm an engineer. I'm either married or unmarried. I'm a man who likes to bowl on Saturday night. I'm a man who has strong political convictions. I'm a man who either believes in religion or I don't believe in it. You see, every time I have a viewpoint, I tell myself who I am. Now, suddenly switch over. If you didn't have a single viewpoint at all about yourself, I'm not talking about the viewpoint of you should come in out of the rain. Obviously you should, unless you want to get wet. That's not a viewpoint. That's not what we're talking about. Not on that level. Think about it. What if you had no ideas, no viewpoints about yourself at all? Who would you be? You wouldn't know, would you? Would you? You wouldn't be able to refer back to yourself at all and say, well, I'm the kind of a person who believes in getting things done promptly. You wouldn't be able to say, well, I'm a wonderful mother who raised 3 lovely children. Or you could even be negative about it. And you say, well, I've got a terrible temper. Or, with tears, I have failed. All my brothers and sisters succeeded in making a lot of money, but I'm a failure. Think about it. If you didn't label yourself or have a viewpoint referring back to yourself, you wouldn't know who you were, who you are. Which is the secret of self-liberation. Which is the most scary, most profitable adventure you will ever undertake in your life here on earth as a human being. Now I'll ask you a question. You tell me, and you won't be able to answer. Why should you have any viewpoints toward yourself at all? That. Listen to what that is. I'll tell you what that is. To have no ideas about yourself is pure morality, pure intelligence, pure decency, pure oneness with yourself and with everyone else. Not that they will be one toward you, but you will be one toward them. All right. Keep that in mind. Now, Joan, read the one about divisions or opposites about viewpoints.
Every viewpoint has an opposite.
Do you understand this? You cannot tell me a viewpoint. Right now, you could not give me a viewpoint which I could not, or someone else, could give you the opposite to it. Any viewpoint. What's a viewpoint? A self-reference viewpoint. I'm an American, you're a German. I'm male, you're female. I like football, you don't. Right. Now, when I identify myself and say that such a simple thing that I am a football fan. This is a football season, isn't it? I'm a football fan. And so I'm watching television on Saturday afternoon, and you don't like football, and so you want to see the fashion show or whatever. For the life of me, I can't understand why you can't be as interested in football as I am. I really can't. Why? Viewpoints are exclusive. This is me. I can't enter into your world at all. This is all I know. This is all I want. I can't see the opposite of that at all. I can't see that you have any rights at all as long as I have my viewpoint which forms me. Because I am the whole world. That, what did we say no viewpoint was? Morality, conscience, decency? A viewpoint of myself of any kind at all? Boy, dare I say this word? I think I'll dare. Is insanity. Because it is self-separation. It is self-division. It is immorality. It is lack of conscience. It is cruelty. It is viciousness. You're sitting here, and part of you, I say part of you, each one of you here, is not accepting the fact that what you call I has no conscience, has no decency. But I'm telling you that under the right circumstances, you could be very cruel and very unkind because you're afraid. Aren't you? Aren't you? Because you're afraid and you don't know what to do. And when you don't know what to do, you're on the level of mechanical thinking, and you will fight someone else or destroy them while smiling. So we've already got a good deal out of viewpoints, but we're going to go on. Read another one, anyone.
All right, a viewpoint cannot find truth.
A viewpoint cannot find the truth. Why can't it? Why can't the viewpoint find the truth? It's very simple. Viewpoints, follow carefully. Viewpoints are on the level of thought. Elementary thought of the mind. And as we found out, it always has an opposite. Juan and I. Rudy, Lily. There's always opposites. Now, God can't be just on one side and not on mine, or vice versa. That would be division, would it not? So, God, truth, has to be something that is not made out of ideas. Which means you can't say, my church knows the truth and yours doesn't. Or my little study group knows the truth and your group doesn't. When you say that, you don't know the truth. That is self-reference, that is division, that is idea, that is thought, that is separation, that is egotism. And do you think egotism can know the truth? So if I can see what it means to come to the end of viewpoints, not on practical matters, it's a right viewpoint that we turn on the light, otherwise we'll stumble over the chair. If I can see the need, the nice need, of coming to the end of all viewpoints about myself, that is truth. because there's no division. Nothing to separate me from you. So truth, reality, God, cannot be a viewpoint, can it? Otherwise, you and I are going to fight over our religions. I know, you see people fighting over their religions, and can you look at them and see them as mad? Not if you're taking a side. Not if you're saying this side is right and that side's wrong. Whether it's in Ireland or Spain or anywhere else. I can see the necessity of practical viewpoints in everyday living, but have no viewpoints toward me as a separate self, separate from you. I'm free. And I will tell you right now, dear ladies and dear gentlemen, you're in for the battle of your life. And I will also tell you, I will not permit you to lie here. So as to enable you to not lie to yourself, so as to enable you to do the hard work of dying to viewpoints and finding the way out. If you want to write something down, write it down now. And you write down, I cannot think my way out of the trap. I cannot think my way out of the trap. And isn't that easily proven? Because you've been trying to do it all your life and you've never succeeded. So isn't that a wonderful truth? A wonderful thing to know? To know the mistake we've been making up until tonight? Aren't you going to go out of here happy that the mistake has come to an end tonight? Isn't this the greatest night of your life? That you're not going to go out there and beat your head against the wall anymore because you see the futility of it, that it's the wrong move. But now we can come back tomorrow and Sunday and find out what takes the place of thought. If I can't think my way out, how can I do it? And we do have terms for it. You can call it consciousness or understanding if you want. Awareness. Seeing. Which for a long time you will confuse with thinking because you don't see the difference yet. And we can learn to put an end to the error tonight. Tremendous, isn't it? That I can learn to think in practical things, but not think that I can find God. But by putting an end to the thinking, there is God. By putting an end to thinking, there is truth. Now you're going to have to think a little bit now. I'll ask you a question. Now you're going to have to think. It may be a novel experience. Try it. Now understand at the start, I'm not talking about practical everyday matters. You may have a right viewpoint that you should cook the corn 20 minutes instead of 15. We're not talking about practical things. Outside of practical, everyday matters, why should you have any viewpoints at all? Anyone want to tell me? Why should you have any viewpoints at all? Why? Yes.
Well, you have a viewpoint of, oh, I'm the best builder in town, and someone else comes along and has an opposite one. It's the same thing as you said. You've got an opposite.
Yeah. That's a self-reference viewpoint. Now, that does not mean you can't be a builder, does it? It means you can't bring your ego into it, your I into it. That is violence. The pettiest quarrel that I have with myself is simply a small version of World War II. Right? What do you think is the cause of war? The fact that we need more living space in Poland? Or you bombed our city first? Not at all. Cause of war is very simple. It's so simple. Why do you even have to talk about it? Human insanity. There's no discussion necessary. What is human insanity? Concealed egotism, always masquerading as something noble and beautiful and wonderful. I'm still looking for an answer. Why should you have any viewpoint at all? Yes.
There is no truthful answer to that question. There is no truthful answer why I should have.
That's right. Of course there isn't. All our viewpoints are causing all our troubles. Now can we work hard to understand what that simple statement means? My viewpoints toward myself are the very cause of my troubles. My viewpoint? How about a little listing here, and I'll ask for your help. I have the viewpoint that I am what? Let's just raise your hand when you can contribute. I have the viewpoint that I am persecuted. I have the viewpoint that people laugh at me. I have the viewpoint that I'm a flop financially. I have the viewpoint that I'm not attractive to the opposite sex. I have the viewpoint that I can save the world if only you will elect me to public office. I have the viewpoint that I must conceal everything and never be honest about the way I feel about anything. I have the viewpoint that I must go through life lying. I have the viewpoint that I must please you so that you'll be pleased with me. I have the viewpoint that cruelty does something for me. It gives me a sense of power. I'm nobody, but I can sure make you cry. You want to add some more? Yes, one.
Viewpoint of being a winner.
Being a winner.
I have the viewpoint I can get away with all my phoniness today and pay for it tomorrow, which is false. I pay for it right now.
Okay, that's better.
I pay for it now.
The
I'm
moment-
not to pay in heaven or
Yes.
somewhere else.
That's a good point. We haven't had for some time. The minute I hurt you, I hurt me now. Okay. Some more viewpoints. Yes.
Have a viewpoint, I'm not perfect, but I'm all right.
Not perfect, but I'm all right. Right. Someone once said, there's a second, Scott, maybe it's in one of these books, someone once said that we freely confess to small faults to promote the illusion that we have no big ones. You see that. Yeah, I've seen it. We've all done it. People say, here's a man who thinks he's a big, great man, and he says, well, I have a terrible handwriting. He's trying to show you that he's not that pompous dummy after all. He's able to admit that he has a poor handwriting. Isn't he wonderful?
The viewpoint is being afraid.
Of what?
Of being afraid.
Yes. That's very good and a very subtle one. Why do you have a viewpoint that you're afraid? Do you know why? Because it gives a thrill to your false sense of self. As long as you're terrified, Afraid of somebody, for example? Afraid of another human being? You are afraid of another human being, aren't you? In many ways, that they'll leave you, that you won't please them, that they'll fire you. Stop it. Stop it. There's one thing that I'm going to get emotional about tonight, is to tell you to stop being afraid of anyone. Just knock it off. But when I'm afraid of you, I at least feel like somebody. You're big and strong, and I'm a weak little sinner. I feel protected by you. Protected by you. Huh. You are destroying me just as I've been destroying you, because we're in a game. We're in a game of self-deception. Not here. We are not, I assure you. Out in the world we are. In the family, in the big hall where we have a crusade for God, and God is not there at all. Because God is not an idea, and he's not a slogan, is he? All right, we'll just talk openly from this point about anything and all that we've discussed up until now. Maybe you have questions.
The one thing about viewpoints that's hard for us to see, or for myself to see, is that they're damaging. We don't realize that they are damaging.
Of course we don't, because we don't know first how they're building this sense of self. This sense of self, which is our prison. We don't see it. Certainly don't. We've never learned anything else, which is why we're here tonight, to begin to learn something else which is above acquired opposite viewpoints. Which means I have to put all these pieces together, all these jigsaw pieces together. And the most important one tonight being seeing that what I've done up to now with my various viewpoints hasn't done a thing for me. So I become the biggest builder in town. So I catch the handsomest husband in town. I'm still afraid because I haven't understood all these things we've talked about tonight, that my own viewpoints toward myself are injuring me, are keeping me separated from my real nature, which is not a viewpoint at all. When I have no viewpoints at all toward myself, I know who I am, but it's not a thought. How can it be a thought when thought is the label, the self-reference, the description? So not knowing who I am lets me know who I am, but I don't have to think about it. The minute I think, I'm lost. I'm lost in the label. And then I have all my demands on you. Because I helped you, now you have to help me. I've been faithful to you, you have to be faithful to me. Because I'm good, you have to be good to me. And all the time I'm lying. Because I'm not good at all. I'm just trading with you for mutual benefits. This is what life is. Do you still want to go along with it? Do you want to go out of here and go right back to the mad game again? Believe me, we all must be mad to go out of this door and say, I'm going back to the same thing. But we can go out of this door saying, as best I can, I'm going to start applying these things. Try to understand them. And I'll add a point to that. One of the greatest mistakes you are making, which is preventing you from being without a viewpoint and therefore free in yourself, and therefore without hostility and insanity. One of the things that prevents you is your habit of condemning yourself. Don't you ever again call yourself stupid. Now repeat. Don't you ever call yourself stupid again. And don't you ever let anyone else tell you or imply that you are stupid. Because that is how they get your money. And that is how they get a feeling of superiority to you. And they are sick. And you're going to listen to a sick human being? Don't you ever tolerate, I don't mean you do anything physically, obviously. I'm talking about mental work. You're working invisibly in here. Don't you ever tolerate anyone calling you stupid, dumb, running you down, because the weak parts of you will still accept that and fall into the trap of liking at least being a dummy instead of being no one. You see what we're getting at? You refuse it. You know, unfortunately, Mama and Papa and the rest of our dear relatives and friends had their part in conditioning us into feeling inadequate, weak, foolish, stupid. I'll tell you, if you will rise in revolt tonight, I'll go with you. Dear relatives, dear society, you're all through as far as I'm concerned. I'm not going to listen to you anymore. You have berated me and given me the false label of being stupid long enough. Which, by the way, dear society, means I'm not going to listen to your flattery anymore either. You're not going to con me and get what you want from me by telling me how wonderful I am, by telling me, good heavens, by telling me how much you love me. I'm not going to fall for that anymore either, because I can begin to see that you're not capable of love. You're capable of the pretense of it. But I've noticed the slight change in expression in your face when I don't give you what you want. And I know that isn't love. So either way, either condemning me or praising me, I'm not going to listen to you anymore. You can talk all you want, and you're going to stand there thinking that I'm swallowing this whole like I used to. And boy, did I swallow it whole. No more. I'm going to stand and listen to you, dear boss, dear wife, dear husband, dear friend. And you can talk all you want. And from now on, I'm taking it differently. I'm taking it intelligently without a viewpoint. Which means eventually you can't touch me because I'm no longer touching myself with my own viewpoint. I've got to the point, you and I are saying, you just keep your rewards, and you just keep your threats of punishment by which you have made me your slave, dear individual and dear society. The rewards and the threats of punishment are all yours. They're not mine anymore. You're not gonna con me anymore, as you have in the past. Boy, you really took me. You really did. Because I didn't know any better. But I will just guarantee you that I know better now. Not completely. The con game is over. You go play it with someone else if you want. You're not going to play it with me anymore. Thank heaven. Okay, Larry, was that your hand? Or yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. When you say don't call yourself stupid anymore, I can understand that in words, Vernon. But when I see I do a foolish thing, right?
Yes, yes.
And I do a foolish thing.
Okay.
And I see it, and
Right.
I see I'm in it.
And you did a stupid thing.
And I did a stupid thing. All right, now.
What next?
Perhaps that's what I'm saying. What
It's
next?
so simple and so complex.
All right.
I see I did a stupid thing. Okay?
Right.
First of all, the honesty part.
Hmm.
We usually say I said the dumb thing, but in this case, I did a dumb thing. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you live in time? Follow. Not go slow. If you go fast, you won't get it. I do a stupid thing. It is done. I turn around and say, how stupid I am. You started it all over. Can you see it and drop it so there's no second thought? No. I did a stupid thing. It was a stupid thing. Right? What has happened to that time in which I did the stupid thing? What has happened to it? Is it here? How can it be here when I'm not living in time? It's over. It's done. It's finished. But every time I say, I am stupid, I'm stupid, I'm stupid, I reactivate it. I'm in time. I create I, and I'll do the stupid thing 5 minutes again. For now. Okay. I am stupid. I see it, I die. The stupid me dies, or the great me dies, right now. Right now, who is there to be either stupid or great in the eyes of the world? Who is there? Where's the viewpoint? I am stupid or wonderful. I have dropped something, haven't I? I put an end to time, to memory, to labels, to imagination, by recreating it. How many times have we said we're going to have to get out of this trap of thinking in time? This is why I bring up many times, and I'll bring it up again. Perhaps this will be the first time for some of you. Why are you so egotistical as to feel ashamed of that cruel thing you did to that ex-wife or husband 20 years ago? Why are you so egotistical to feel guilty over that stupid thing or that cruel thing or whatever it was 5 weeks ago? Who do you think you are, bragging all the time about what an evil human being you are? You've got a lot of nerve to keep bragging about yourself like that. Who do you think you are? All right. Right at the top of your page, all about reactions. All about reactions. And those of you listening to this tape can follow along with us as we're doing here in this room. Put point 1 under that and write negative reactions. Negative reactions. Under that, 2 neutral reactions. 2 neutral reactions. 3 positive reactions. 3 positive reactions. Now draw a line under that. What I'm going to say next is quite connected with it, but it's a different area, a different room in the house. So draw a line underneath that, and again write a 1. Never say 1. Never say I to reactions of any kind. Never say I to reactions of any kind. Two slow down reactions. 2 slow down reactions. 3 put yourself in the other person's place. 3 put yourself in the other person's place. All this will become clearer as we go into it this morning. All right? So we're going to learn everything we can about reactions, responses, about what we do when confronting a situation, a person, a word, when confronting an advertisement along the highway, when confronting even our own thoughts. How are we going to react to them? Everything depends on the way we react to an exterior challenge, an exterior situation. And before we go into these details, remember, our reactions in almost every case is mechanical and it is unconscious. It is mechanical and it is unconscious. How often have you stopped yourself in the middle of a reaction just to see how you're responding to the other person's facial expression, for example, or to his gesture or what he says, or to his attempt to persuade you? How am I reacting to what is happening out there? We almost never see it. But when we slow it down, which we'll get into later, we can begin to see it. All right. We are loaded with negative reactions without seeing them. Now, find your own examples of how something happens and we have what? An apprehension, a timidity, a doubt. Don't you know that doubt is a negative reaction? Why do you doubt it all? When something happens out there, why are you thrown into confusion at all? I will tell you why. Because you're making the great error of thinking that thinking can clarify your mind so that you might respond correctly, which could never be done. Doubt always exists on the level of conditioned acquired thought, which is self-protective and self-assertive. All right. So we have negative reactions without seeing them to practically everything that happens to us inwardly and outwardly. Can be very negative toward ourselves, can we not? Why did I do that dumb thing? Why did I say that? Why am I so scared? Let's select a particular negative reaction. Now I'll ask you a question. Think about it as I ask this of you. How do you feel how do you respond? What takes place in you when you see another person crying? Never mind the type of their crying. It could be self-pity crying. It could be sorrow over losing something, distress of any kind. Never mind that for now. What is your response when you see another person, maybe a woman, man, with tears coming down their face? If you were able to catch yourself, you would see several kinds of wrong reactions to it. Some of them being quite obvious and some of them being quite subtle. Because we always want to assume that we are responding as a sympathetic and understanding person when we see another person crying. When we get to the end of this talk, you'll see what is the proper response to someone who weeps, who cries, which is simply seeing it. But we'll get to that later. So the first thing to remember on responses, in which we're trying to put all these pieces together about reactions, that they're negative, which is the same as harmful, which is the same as self-injurious, but we don't see it because we simply haven't collected enough material about ourselves in order to stop it. So we're machines. Someone presses the button and we go into our reaction, whatever it might be. So we do have largely unhelpful, harmful responses to life, to every challenge, no matter where we are, to the news program. The simple a thing as another person's facial expression. Okay. 2, there is such a thing as a neutral response, which I will give you an example of. If you ask me how to get from here to San Francisco, I will give you a neutral response. I will say, you go down this highway, and at this city you turn left, then you turn right, and you follow this line on the map. And eventually you'll get to San Francisco. There's nothing particularly negative or positive in that. I'm just passing on information that I have collected in my mind about getting to San Francisco. Nothing big deal about it at all, is there? You just ask me and I give you the answer. I could make a mistake on it very easily. You ask me how to get to San Francisco, and I'm so proud that I at least know that I use it and give you a long speech on how to get to San Francisco when I could have said it in 5 words if I was to pounce on it and use it, see? Or feel that I'm being your minor savior for the minute. And have you ever noticed this in all of us, that we always want to feel as if we're saving someone, which again is an opposite and an escape from saving ourselves? Okay. So there is such a thing as a casual, you might call, neutral reaction to life, which should remain neutral without bringing the self into it, which again we'll come to. Then there is a positive reaction to every challenge, to every situation that confronts us during the day. What is a really positive response? And we could make a long list on this if we wanted to. First of all, a truly positive response is not on the level of ordinary thinking. It is not from memory, it's not from acquired responses, it's not mechanical, it's not unconscious. I am here in the now answering that response from a part of me that is not the old me. You can say that a positive response is responding from understanding, from consciousness, from a higher level, from a state in which I do not exist as a person who gets either pleasure or pain out of giving you the answer or of responding to it. In a truly positive response, I am not there. Right? Right? I'm absent because I exist only on the level of ideas, of viewpoints. And if that is absence because I've learned how to stop thought, then where am I? I am not in the response at all. Therefore, it is a perfect one. Regardless of how you may respond to my response, I am free in myself to the challenge. I have not added another problem on top of the first problem by what? By getting indignant over the challenge, or getting angry, or going into tears over it. I have not made a problem, added a problem on top of a problem, which is what I always do, because I am mechanical, and I am in the clutches of all these negative, self-protective, and self-assertive emotions that go 10 times as fast as lightning. So what we're after this morning, outside of knowledge, which we're getting now, is a personal experience of the things we're talking about. And so we're going to have some personal experiences in a moment, which will help us to put into operation the knowledge, the information that we've collected in the first 10 minutes. All right, look at your list there. Read the first one so I get them in the right order, Joan, on the second set. What's the first?
Second set.
The first one.
One is never say aye to reactions of any kind.
Oh. All right, I pretty much covered that, but a brief review. Don't you understand? Don't you understand that there is an I, a self there, anytime we respond on the level of ordinary thinking, which means that we're responding on the level of self-protection or self-promotion. If there's any pain, any doubt, any confusion in me as a result of what happens out there and my response to it, that means that I am present. I am calling myself I responding to you. After all these years of being my friend or wife or husband or lover or loveress, after all these years of me being in bliss, in happiness and security of having you, you say, I'm going to leave. If I didn't have this I that said, I am secure in having you, I'm having all this pleasure of watching TV with you and having sex with you, if I didn't have all these false feelings to begin with, when you say, I'm going to leave you, there would be an understanding, which is not a normal, average reaction, but something that sees, that is clear, that is not distressed. For me to be in any situation is to be in pain. You understand what me is, what I am? A nothing, an illusion that I exist. I have ideas about me. Do I not? Do you not have ideas about yourself? For example, how other people should treat you? How the world should treat you? And it's not going to do it that way because it's a mad world. If you could see this one thing, that would be enough for this morning. As long as I am in it, I must respond in a way that causes pain, distress, uncertainty, doubt, tears. If I can put all these pieces together, so that when you say you're going to leave me, I can see it, which we'll again get to, instead of react to it with negativity, which is me. If I can see it, where's the problem? The only problem you have ever had, I have ever had, is me. Spend the rest of your life thinking about that one point alone and see how swiftly you advance. Right? How do we do it? How do we begin to work to destroy not me, but what I call me, which is my hell? There must be a cause of this hell, this madness. It is me in ignorance. Remember we started off yesterday by saying it is ignorance? There is an answer. There is an answer as a solution, but I am ignorant of it yet. This is why we're here, to stop being ignorant of the answer, which can be done. All right, I'm going to ask some of you some questions, any kind of questions. That's not important. And just answer any way you want. Just answer. Juan, what is the capital of Texas?
Austin.
Okay. Al, what is the principal product of Hawaii? Pineapples. Sally, what's the capital of Scotland? See, when we respond from memory, if we happen to have that particular knowledge, bang, it's there. Is it not? Bang, right? If we have the knowledge. No problem at all. We bring the swiftness, the mechanicalness, the unconsciousness of a response into every situation without seeing that we're also dragging ourselves into it. Now I'm going to ask some more questions, and this time you're to deliberately pause before answering. You answer it, but slow it down. You understand what we're doing? So that when you go out of here, you won't have much, but you'll have a little bit. You'll have the beginning idea of slowing down our responses to life so that they don't grab us before we can see them and stop them. This is simply a slowing down process. All right, Joan, what is a particular sorrow of yours?
That I wasted so much time and energy in the wrong places.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Larry, what kind of help do you expect here?
What kind of help do I expect here? I would rather not expect any, because if I expect, I'm here for something. I would rather let it. I'd rather understand understanding and let it fall on understanding without expecting it to fall on understanding.
All right. Lillian, why do you come to this group?
For the light that's here, the understanding, the perception.
Okay. It's very simple. We don't have to go very deeply into it. The question is, the whole question is, well, 99% of the question. Are you going to practice this when you're at home and you're sitting down and you have to write that letter to someone And all of a sudden, while writing that letter, which you didn't want to write in the first place, but it's your social obligation you feel, and you wish you didn't have to write half the letters you do, it'd be a good idea to cut half of them out, 90% of them. All of a sudden, in the middle of a stroke of your pen, you set the pen down and put your hands at your side and give yourself a shock by relaxing, because you haven't done it all day long. You give yourself a deliberate shock by relaxing, and you try to look into your own mind and see where you're trying to force yourself to say something, and it's such a burden. What am I going to say next? So that you break your reaction to thinking so hard. Slow it down so that your mind will operate properly in even such a simple thing as writing a letter. Now I'll get off on a little detour just for a minute. You think it's so dreadfully important to you and to the other person as to what you say in that letter. It isn't important at all if it's just a friendly little letter to your cousin in Chicago. Talk about the weather, talk about anything you want without putting all this dreadful importance into it. That's simply an example. Where do you find your own situations where you start laboring your brain and wondering, what am I going to say and what am I going to do, and will it come out right, and how does it sound? Why don't you have the courage to stop thinking about it at all and just sit back and watch your mind struggling and fighting? This happens all day long, you know. Do you notice it? It happens all day long. The question is then where as I go out of this door, like from here, from the door walking to my car, can I slow down my thinking right there instead of thinking, well, I should put the roast in at 12 o'clock and it'll be done by 1 o'clock. Don't think about that. It's not necessary yet. And lo and behold, you will be astonished. You will be stunned. You will be overwhelmed by seeing all the unnecessary thoughts that surge through your brain, which waste your energy, which waste your mental energy, which wear you out, which drive you nuts. Right? Write down as a little extra thought. Stop unnecessary thoughts. Stop unnecessary thoughts. Because when you can do that, you will then think necessary thoughts much more efficiently. Because the wheat and the weeds will be separated. You know one from the other. Mind can become so efficient when we gather all these things together and put them into operation. All right, third point. As a practical project, put yourself in the other person's place. If you think you already do this, I beg to differ with you. You don't. Because this mind of ours, of each one of us, really does. Really, you're not going to accept this. I'm telling you, you're not going to accept it. But you can start to accept it. You think I'm exaggerating. I'm not at all. I haven't even begun to tell you how bad it is. But that's good, because now we can straighten it out. The only world that exists for most of us, is mine, your world. This is all that exists. And every other human being is seen as someone who can promote or protect this world, which I call mine. That's all that exists to me. It's all I've ever known. If I've only lived in one small countryside all my life, and you tell me about about Alaska or about Africa, I find it hard to conceive, because all I've ever known is this hilly, rocky country where I now live, and I've always lived. So I find it hard to believe you at the start that something else exists. It does. And it is a world in which I am no longer the center of the world, in which all my petty, selfish little interests do not exist at all, because I've destroyed it through becoming intelligent at last. Because I see that what I called my world was my hell, my misery. If you are in misery of any kind, pain, self-defense, any kind of misery, it is because you have not as yet seen what we're talking about here, that there's a world which is not made up of ordinary thought. As a daily practice, as a method to shatter this hell, which we lie about and call an exciting life, as a technique, if you want to use that word, from this day forward, we will make a practice of putting ourselves in the place of the other person's mind, not to necessarily to agree with them or to go along with them, because their minds are just as nonsensical as ours, but to simply to see the opposite of what we are thinking. It suddenly occurs to me, no, it doesn't occur yet. I suddenly have a suspicion that I am an egotist, that really what that man said is true, that everything revolves around me, even my wife and my children and my friends. I am using them very, very cunningly to keep this false world in place. Too much of a shock for me to see for many years maybe, but I'm beginning to see it now. The minute I glimpse that I insist I'm the only ego that has a right to exist in this world, the minute I glimpse it in me, I begin to glimpse it in you. To increase my perception that I am an egotist, I can now, as a method, rightly see that you are. I can observe how when we get together and talk very subtly, everything is centered around you. You're centering your world around, even you ask me questions about my career. How is your profession doing? And I suddenly sense the reason you're asking that, you are hoping I say it's a flop. Aren't you? Aren't you? If I say, oh, I'll tell you, I added 20 employees last year, and I'm making $500,000 a year, you are miserable. That question which you ask with that sort of mask on your face because you didn't want me to see through the real reason you ask it, which I saw through because I'm not that dumb, because I'm seeing through myself. The reason you ask is you hope I would maybe break down and oh, things are really gone. I'm going into bankruptcy. Because now you can compare and say, well, he's bankrupt. I may only make $5,000 a year, but at least he's bankrupt. That makes me feel better. Your dearest friends, watch them in conversation with you and catch all these self-centered conversations. It is legitimate to see the vanity and the self-centeredness in another person as long as I also see it in me, right? If I just see it in the other person, you're self-centered, I'm hiding my own self-centeredness, my own separate world, and pretending that I love everybody. And what I love is anybody who I can compare myself with and come out favorable. Does that sound like a difficult thing for you to do from now on, to put yourself in the other person's place so as to see his viewpoint and see how it's opposite from your viewpoint, not to accept either viewpoint, but to rise above both of them, which is not thought, which is consciousness. To be able to see both viewpoints without taking a side with either one of them. One, if I think I am nice, I will also think you are nice, and now we're in trouble with each other. Do you understand that? I think I am nice. That is an idea, a group of ideas, of imagination, self-flattering, self-deceiving, that I have about myself. This is because I have so-called moral standards. I try to be nice to everybody. I try to do a good deed every day. I believe we should be patient and kindly toward the poor. I've told you before, be as patient and kindly toward the rich. Secondly, aren't we weary? Are you not weary? Am I not weary of living with this person who causes me so much trouble? If you're not tired enough, you won't even understand what I'm talking about. But if you're weary enough of going through life, being scared of everyone, some people more in particular, for fear that they can take away your security, the instruction is as follows. Get totally tired of living with this trouble-causing self with whom you now live. That is an intelligent start toward getting rid of him or her and living above the level of opposites to living where there's no self-reference at all, and therefore liberty. But we fear our liberty because it means the end of agitation. We fear our liberty because it means the end of agitation, and agitation is the only me I know. Thank heaven I have something to suffer over. I wouldn't know what to do if I couldn't get angry, if I couldn't cry, if I couldn't feel resentful, if I couldn't feel, these wonderful feelings of secret revenge. I wouldn't know what to do without these feelings. I'd be lost without them. So I'm going to deliberately be lost. I'm going to deliberately be lost so that I can go beyond egotism and find myself. By deliberately consciously being lost, by deliberately and consciously being lost, I am no longer lost. Now meditate on that for a while and see what you come up with. Do you understand it? No? Okay. All right. I think I know who I am. I think I know who I am. And you am certainly a male or female, and you are 6 feet tall or 5'8", and you are a certain age. These are observable physical facts. Now, if you let the facts be what they are without trying to do anything with them, there would be no problem with saying, well, I'm growing older, or I'm not as good looking as you, or as intelligent as you. But we always add something to the fact. All right. But beyond that, I think I know who I am. And the reason I know is because Mama and Papa and society told me all my life, not only who I am, but who I must become. I am now poor, therefore I must become rich. I am now a nobody, therefore I must become a somebody. I am now unmarried, therefore I must become married. These are all the things that society has told me I must do in order to be happy. And they were all lies, 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 lies. Regardless of the shock to my mind, to my whole psychic system, I'm going to destroy the pack of lies. Regardless of how I now cry visibly and scream audibly and hear myself screaming, I'm going to go through it. You in this room and you listening to this tape have no idea of all the conscious shock that you have to go through, which is not saying it to frighten you, because you're already scared of it. I can't scare you. All I can do is bring up your fright to consciousness where we can begin to work intelligently on it. To lose myself, which I don't even understand yet, because I don't understand how I'm nothing but a pack of labels, which society has given me and which I've accepted. I don't even understand that. I'm giving you a broad picture. Then we go into the details as we can. To lose myself is to find myself. To lose false labeled personality is to find something that is above labeled personality. Something that is capital O-N-E. Something that is capital W-H-O-L-E. Whole. In which there's no division between this lady and this man, or this man and this lady. So to lose myself, my false self, is to find myself, my real nature. Now what's complicated about that? The only thing left to do is hard, earnest work to understand what this means. I'll give you an additional feature. The moment you feel you have relaxed and are about to forget about relaxing, break the temptation to forget about relaxing and start all over. Look at it again. This will produce a little extra shock because you have said, I'm now relaxed, and you're not really. You've taken a second look and found something else. So you've broken the pattern of saying, I'm relaxed, and now I can go back to listening to the meeting or whatever. Look at it again. Start all over. If relaxation is uncomfortable to you, stay uncomfortably relaxed. I told you it's a shock for us to relax. We're not used to it. We're used to being tense, aren't we? One more thing, without referring to anyone in particular, as I look out here, I can see tense looks on your face, mechanical looks, habitual looks. You will now relax your face muscles Just relax it into a nice, normal, easy relaxation, which will produce a small shock to your habitual facial expression, which again is one of tension, of self-absorption, of unconsciousness. Try to be aware right now of the expression that is on your face. You can see it if you look. You can see it because you're seeing it with your psychic eyesight, are you not? Just look at it. Now, drop the muscles in the face. Relax them. This is part of the process of putting an end to madly rushing thoughts. Remember, we're hesitant, we're reluctant, we're afraid to slow down and stop these thoughts because this is the only world we have known up to now. We're going to have the courage to explore a new world which starts by slowing down the mad spinning of the old traditional familiar world. I have some good news for you. Nothing bad, nothing harmful can ever happen to you from doing this, or from doing anything else you've ever been told in this group, in this class. The reason I say that is because there is a part of you that is afraid of what may happen to you as a result of going into these things, of dropping rushing thoughts, for example. There's this unconscious fear. So I'm telling you, to add to your knowledge, nothing bad can ever really happen to you, regardless of how it presently seems. To the contrary, everything good can happen to you. What another part of you really wants, but is presently overcome by the negative parts. Everything good can happen to you and will happen to you as a result of your general presence here and of absorbing and working with these ideas. Isn't that wonderful? Where could you ever get more greater, more cheerful good news than that? You'll never find it anywhere else in life. We never have, and we never will. Now, would you like to ask questions and discuss a little bit? Rudy.
This exercises of relaxing and slowing down, is it part of what Gurudev would say, correcting the machine?
Sure. Correcting the machine. What else? That's what we're doing. We have a faulty machine. We're getting the knowledge and the action to correct it. Quite right.